And a very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, Director of WEIU-FM, where today we're going to talk a lot about the Coles County weather, the drought, and everything that's happening weather-wise the past 6 or so months. And our guest is Cameron Craig. Welcome, Cameron.
Thank you.
Cameron is a geographer, a video a filmmaker, and he's also a professor here at Eastern University. And you teach 3 classes, including a lot of the weather class and the meteorology class.
That's right.
So, and he's been on before. We're going to talk a little bit about let's start off with the weather first, because obviously the big news today is that a hurricane or tropical storm, I guess, Isaac is out there. It has not made landfall yet. Give us an update of where we're seeing there.
Well, what we're seeing is about Wednesday, Tuesday into Wednesday, we're looking at landfall just west of New Orleans as a Hurricane 1 is what they're forecasting.
Now, how about the GOP convention? I know they were preparing for that. Is it?
They're kind of delaying it, I believe, postponing it. They'll meet and then recess for a time, is what I understand.
Okay, so there you go.
So yeah, Tampa didn't get hit. They just had rain bands and gusty winds, so it wasn't as devastating.
That's good. So, all right, we'll keep you updated. We appreciate you giving us an update. We may talk a little bit more about that as we go.
Sure.
Well, one of the things I know you're working on is a new documentary that's really talked about the drought of this summer. Why don't we talk about where the process of the drought and the documentary, and we'll go from there.
Right. The drought actually began last year. If we look at the numbers, it began last September, August, with only a ½ an inch of rain, 2011. And then in September, we had the record-breaking first day and the second day, we hit 100. And then we got out of the drought in October, and then we didn't have a snowy season. Yeah. I forecasted that, I know, here we go. I said to the newspaper and to my students, based on models, that we would have a snowy and cold winter. We didn't get it. No. It didn't happen at all, and so I looked like a liar. So we started out 2012 dry, and the only month that we really got into some precipitation was April. So when we started plundering big time, or falling down with precipitation in June with only just under an inch of rain. July, we had 0.08 of an inch of rain. So we broke the 1947 driest July on record. That in 47, that was 0.29. But it was just, we didn't get anything to fill a little water bottle cap.
Oh, it's crazy. I coach a travel baseball team. We always overscheduled, knowing that we're going to get rained out. And we started playing the first weekend of April, and we lost 1 game to rain out this year. When you think about that,
one game that's
to rain out from April through the beginning of August.
Well, then I did pretty good.
Yeah, you did great. Other than probably a few parents would have preferred some weekends off, but yet that's why you overschedule, because you know you're going to get rained out, and we didn't. So it was a absolutely horrendously bad for rain. When you talk about the word drought, though, how do you, as a weather forecaster or somebody in meteorology business, how do you say it's for sure been a drought?
When we don't have rainfall for an extended period of time, and that means a significant amount of rainfall for a month, okay, that meets the normal. For example, June had the 30-year average is 4 inches, or 4.03 inches.
Yeah.
July is 4 inches. And so this month is just under 4 inches. So when we don't meet that, or get halfway in the month to meet that at the end of the month, then we start thinking drought.
Drought. Okay. Now this documentary, what's it going to be called? Have you thought of a name
not sure. Yet? I have a working title. It's Cracked Soil and Empty Ears of Corn. So, which basically the title tells the story right there. And going out and getting footage with my students who are helping out with this, some of those ears of corn just have 1, 2, 3 kernels in it, and it's awful, just awful. And a lot of them have corn smut, which is interesting. It's a fungus. And it looks nasty, little tubulars coming out. I guess in the ancient world, the Aztecs, Mayans used to use this as they put this fungus into the corn and they'd eat it.
Oh, really?
That's very interesting.
There you go. Now, for the farmers, I mean, here, let's talk specifically in the Coles County area. For those who are doing corn this year, is there a chance that any of it's going to come back?
There's what I've gotten from some of my students who are farmers. They're from last year's crop. They're only getting 10%. Another is getting 13%, and that's in the Decatur area. And so it's just not good for corn this year.
Okay, now will beans be affected at all? Or?
Beans are doing pretty good. Going through some of the fields, they're doing pretty good. They're a later crop, and so the rain that we had at the start of August, it helped out the beans.
Because one of the I was thinking about, not that I know anything about agriculture and farming, but it seems like, you know, this last few weeks of rain in August, the grasses came back. It's green.
Yes.
Corn cannot come back this late in the year.
No,
Is that
it's gone.
Okay.
It's dead. The corn looks. I mean, it's traveling to the southwest southwest Kansas with a colleague of mine 2 years ago. That corn down there, it's 2-3 feet tall and
It's almost run it out,
full ear of corn. But here, that's the same height without the ear of corn.
Okay. Is there any use for that kind of corn at all?
Yeah,
can you still use it for feed corn or anything?
You can. We use it for silage, and that would be used to feed animals. But the only problem is you can't cut the stalk too low, because then you get into nitrate that could poison animals.
All right.
So there's goods and there are bads.
What about the soil? Is there any long-term effect on the soil? Or
The soil, it will remain compact and hard until we get periodic rains that will help moisten that. Yes.
Okay. Let's go back to the documentary a little bit. And, you know, in what stage is it, and, you know, when will it be done? And then I guess the next question is, when will it be available for the public?
We are looking at finishing up by the end of September, so that we can talk about and start airing it on WEIU in October and in November. Well, I'm waiting for this drought situation to kind of improve greatly, and before actually, you know, summing up the drought, because the drought is a continuous. It's a long-term situation, and this will be a drought that that will be written in the history books.
What about August? Where we stand for August on the average?
Right now, we're looking at, as of Friday. Last Friday, we've gotten 2.3 inches of rain, which is great. And again, the 30-year average is just under 4. However, we still need, I know, a foot of rain to get us back to normal.
A foot of rain.
A foot of rain. Now, Decatur, they need 2 feet.
Yeah, I saw where they were doing some real rationing, and you couldn't fill your pool up unless you already had a pool. No new pool sales.
Yes.
So it really affects not just what we would think about, but the economy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is that the New York Times had an article in there about we should use this drought as a way to rethink how we use water. I've got some students that take 30-minute showers. Right there is 75 gallons gone.
Yeah.
You know, and so we need to think about how we use water. So there it is.
I think it's a good point. I mean, I saw where car washes were only going to be open on certain days of the week, and so it's scary when you think about it, because then it becomes, okay, it's a free country, but
right.
How free are we when
right.
we have to start doing some things like this? Long-term effect, though, of a drought like this. Let's say it lasts through September or October. You know, what's the next worst case and best
water
case?
Restrictions will continue. In fact, they could become extreme restrictions. We're looking at also food prices could bump up slightly.
That's what I was going to
So people are going to have to shell out a little bit more, and corn is in everything. I mean, corn's in this and that and every type of product.
When do you expect if there will be any food price increases? This fall, or is it?
It could be later. It could be this fall, as early as this fall. It could be into the spring.
When you talk also about the documentary, talk about how many students are you using, and maybe what all their involvement is.
Right. At this time, I'm only using one other student, Braden Harp. He's a broadcast meteorology student, not at WEIU yet, but I'm giving him experience. And we're going out and getting footage. Yesterday, we went to Lake Decatur, and that lake, I mean, just because the water level 2.5 feet down, it's just amazing. Death everywhere, the smell of death, and it's unfortunate, but they're in a serious situation. So we're just going around the Central Illinois region getting footage.
When you look at this drought overall, how many states, how much of America is really under what you would call drought?
Two-thirds.
Two-thirds?
Even 80% are abnormally dry.
Okay. Now, you also talked about the 2 inches of rain that we got in August. That was really almost all in one night, I believe, about a week and a half ago, correct?
That's right. We got
so is that actually a good rain?
That big storm that blew through Coles County, it left us with 1 inch and 11 hundredths. So people are like, wow, how much rain did we get? It looked like it was a lot. Are we out of the drought situation? No, we're not out of the drought situation. But I tell them just over 1 inch, and they're like, it looked more than like 2 or 3 inches. And that's because people's perception. When you don't have rain for 2 months and then it rains, people get happy.
Yeah. But I was wondering to go back, is it better to have a little bit of rain over a lot of days, or just that one big one is a bit?
So what we need is Isaac is forecasted to move into our region for the weekend, and this is the kind of rain that we need. It needs to be a soft, Gentle rain, a drizzle, 4 days. 4 days. Nothing. The big storm that we had last week or a week ago Thursday, that was good. It got things going, but it was a lot of runoff.
Yeah.
And we need when you have thunderstorms like that, what happens is you pound that soil, and the soil doesn't absorb that rain quick enough.
Yep.
So you need a nice, gentle, like a sponge.
There you go. Now, should the local residents be concerned? You know, I know my backyard has got just inch cracks in it. I mean, is there anything to be concerned about at that point, or just
no? Just leave it.
Leave it.
Just leave it. You know, grasses will come back. Save water by not watering the lawns. Let's not be in the same situation as the Southwest United States, where by the mid-'80s they had drained their aquifer. And so they get their water from the Colorado River that's diverted, and now that's dwindling. It doesn't make it to the Gulf of California anymore. And so they're watering their lawns all the time. So we have to be very careful about our water resources, because we have an aquifer underneath us. And communities, small communities, if they have a water treatment facility, they'll pump that out of the aquifer, and so 1.5 million gallons a day. And so we have to be very careful about how much water we do pump out.
What about the fact that the grass came back? Are you just surprised how fast it? Because I mean, it looked terrible.
Yes, I was, because last Tuesday we went down to Robinson, Illinois, and there was exceptional drought. It was an exceptional drought situation, and get down there and it's like, wow, what happened? You know, I was wanting to get footage of this drought. And so grass is green. That's great. And people, when they see that green, they're thinking, we're out of a drought, so let's go ahead and start using more water. But the problem is that a drought is a long-term situation. So
there you go.
And people ask, so what about the winter? Will this pull us out of the drought? Well, yes, but you know, we need 14 feet of snow to get us out of the drought. Now, I want snow, but a lot of people don't like snow.
Yeah, 14 feet might be a tad much, Cameron.
Yeah, that's right.
We're talking to Cameron Craig. We're on Issues Now today, talking a little about the weather and the rain and the drought here in Central Illinois, as well as his new documentary that will be out hopefully later this fall. But we don't want 14 inches. Or no, we don't want 14 feet of snow.
That's right.
There you go. Now, is there a long-term effect to this? Is there a 10-year, 5-year? Oh my, we should be concerned or not?
There probably is. I mean, the last time we saw a drought like this was 1988, and then again 1950s, 1954, 56, and then of course the Dust Bowl, which was another documentary that I did. And so I used that in relation to what's happening now. You know, I asked students, I said, do you think, like today in class later, they're going to be discussing the Dust Bowl. And the first question I asked them on Friday was, how many of you know about the Dust Bowl? And it's amazing, out of 100 students, I only had a handful of students raise their hand. And so it's mind-boggling.
Well, I'm not trying to one-up you, but in my class this morning, I asked the current crop of kids, nice word, if they knew what the Space Shuttle Challenger blowing up in the 80s, and they all looked at me like I'm a complete idiot, because they were familiar with the other space shuttle.
That's right.
But not the Challenger. So, it's weird how sometimes they don't know about some of the big events that have happened in this country.
And that's
a little scary, actually, to be honest with you.
It is, because we should be learning from these events, and then we should be listening to our elders who experienced these. This is what I refer to as generational gap.
Yes, exactly.
Where my grandfather witnessed the Dust Bowl, and he's telling me stories, but I don't completely understand it totally, because I wasn't there. You know, you think about, I ask students, do you remember JFK being assassinated? And they go, no, but I've heard about it. Yeah. But your parents do. You don't have that. And then you start talking about 9/11.
That's their point of reference, I think.
And that they understand.
Yeah.
And so, but when they have children, their children are not going to understand generational gap.
I was just going to say, I think 9/11 is definitely the point of reference, and they can remember from that forward. Yes. But stuff behind that, I don't know. I was like, I feel the one guy goes, "Hey, you're old." I'm like, "Well, you're right, but maybe pay attention more in history." But that,
that's right.
Another discussion for another day. Okay, I know you're always working ahead on other projects. What do you foresee as future projects or documentaries that Cameron Craig's on?
I just talked to the oil. We did an oil documentary, Returning to Paradise, and we went 2 different weekends, 6 months, 7 months apart, and we visited our friends in Dauphin Island, Alabama. Yeah. And I would like to go back and see where they're at in the future, to see where they're at from the oil perspective, to see what the status of the island is, and also, any hurricanes that come about from that.
You were even saying you were in discussion with them in the last couple of days.
Yes, I sent them an email last night saying, hey, we're thinking about you. Our prayers are with you, because at that time the track of Isaac was more over them, and so it's kind of gone further west. So they responded, and they're moving their boats up the Mobile Bay and getting the islanders off.
When you talk about Hurricane Isaac or Tropical Storm Isaac, I guess you now hit New Orleans, I mean, and switch and pass, it's almost not funny how, it seems like you just think about New Orleans getting another event like that. What do you think? So, and I know their governor, and I've terrible pronounced his name, Jindal, I believe, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But they're jumping the gun, and that's good. He's already
said he's not going to the GOP convention. It's an emergency already. And so what kind of things should people down there be prepared for in case, I know we're never going to anything that bad, but so people understand what they're
what's going on.
Yeah.
The biggest threat is storm surge. This is when the hurricane or a tropical storm moves on land. It brings up water with it. Okay, so it's a storm surge. It's flooding waters, and it inundates the coastal region. Yeah. And so that's the major threat. And if people are down there, they need to, heed the warnings and evacuate as quickly as possible. Tourists need to, like our Dauphin Island friends, they have rentals, and some of those renters are like, no, we're going to stay here. Come on, people, let's be smart. So that's the other thing. And then the other threat is tornadoes. When you have this massive engine of a storm coming up on land, as it's out in the ocean or the Gulf, it's rotating as a unit. But then when you move it over land, it starts to break apart, and so you get multiple vortices.
And you said that the remnants of Isaac would hit us maybe by Labor Day weekend?
That's right. The track takes it in as a tropical depression into Missouri and then further out into Illinois, but we will get rain Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This will improve our drought situation.
There you go. Let's go to weather forecasting a little bit. One of the things,
good. I love it.
Well, I know that one of the things that people talk about is that the forecasters always get it wrong. I think it's one of those things.
It's the number one job where you can get paid to be wrong.
There you go. But really, when you think about it, what makes it so hard? What makes forecasting so hard with all the technology we have today?
Even if we have all the supercomputers at our fingertips, it's difficult because it's nature. We have weather forecast models are created by humans that help to explain what the atmosphere is doing, it will do in the near future. But there are so many fine details to that weather system, to the Earth, the surface, and below the surface, that we cannot, it is like earthquakes. We can't predict what, the earthquakes. But weather forecasting is so difficult because there's so many details to it. And so it makes it very difficult. Give it 5 minutes, it'll change. Yeah. So the best forecast is day 1 through day 3. When we go to day 4 through 6 or day 4, 5, that's pretty good. And, here and there it'll be a hit and miss. But once we get to day 6, 7, and further out, it gets worse. And some of these organizations, they do 14-day forecasts. People, it's just not going to happen that way.
A crapshoot is what my dad.
That's right. Yeah. It's let's play the lottery instead. We'll have a better chance.
What is one thing maybe a future weather forecaster or somebody in the system here at Eastern Illinois University needs to know about weather? About weather?
Yeah. Well, I love this part, and I came up with this little rhyme: "Sun, sun, without the sun, there is no weather fun." And without the sun, we don't have anything. But the important thing is that we broadcast meteorologists are the bridge between National Weather Service and the general public. And so broadcasters need to be very serious about studying meteorology and understanding what it does, so that when severe weather, wherever they may be, tropical storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, they need to be on top of their game. Okay. So they need to know the science.
Okay. Do you ever think there'll be a day that man can manipulate the weather to?
No. I'm going to stop you right there, because there are ideas. I know.
I didn't even get my question.
Well, no, I know.
This is how good my guest is.
Because these are the things that we talk about in my senior seminar class. We talk about how we are superior to nature. Well, we tried that with Titanic, and what happened to Titanic? It said
same thing happened in the movie, I assume.
That's right. It went to its demise. But there are ideas that we can dissipate hurricanes before they make landfall by using ultrasonic waves. I mean, that's reading ideas and things that.
But I remember growing up, people used to seed the clouds. The farmers could seed.
Yeah, you could seed the clouds, but you can put silver iodine into the cloud. But the problem is that it won't rain where you want it to.
Okay.
It gets into an area where there's been flooding, and so you end up with lawsuits, as my professor once taught us.
Okay.
But ultrasonic waves dissipating hurricanes before they make landfall and destroy cities, that's a nice idea, but Earth is it's like a human. It's like a human. It is, when it gets ill, it'll tell us it's ill. Hurricanes, earthquakes, major storms, those are ideas or evidence that the Earth is sick. We have to let those things happen. If we control nature and we don't allow hurricanes to do their thing, something more devastating could happen somewhere else.
Okay. Good answer.
Thank you.
Not even to a real question, not to a complete question. You knew where I was going. I guess we must know each other too well. Are we going to learn anything? This is kind of an off-base question, but I know that we have the Mars rover or whatever is on Mars right now. Are they doing anything about looking back at the weather patterns of Earth or anything? Do you know?
Yeah, that's a possibility. I'm not sure about that, but it is definitely a possibility. We'll be able to look at Earth a different way. But the other thing is, and I'm going to jump this gun, and that is that, let's trash up this planet so we can move to another one. That some of my students are saying, well, we'll just get real estate on Mars. Really? Let's take care of what we've got here.
I like that. I agree with you 100% on that one. I will say something, though, that it seems like, I don't know, maybe because I have kids now, I didn't pay attention when I was younger, but it seems like the storms are more severe now than before.
Yes.
True or not?
It is true. It is true.
Why?
They're more frequent because of global warming. We are in the midst of the drought situation, these particular storms that are developing. Hurricanes, the last time we had record-breaking hurricanes in a year was 2005, when we ran out of names and we had to go the Greek alphabet. But the drought is evident of global warming. The lack of precipitation throughout much of the nation is evident, and the record-breaking number of temperatures here in the United States is evident of global warming. So we're witnessing it right now. Here in Charleston, we had 42 days between June and July that were plus 90. All days except one in July were plus 90.
Ooh.
We only had one day, and that was 89 degrees, and I believe that was the 13th. But, yeah, and then with the lack of precipitation, well, of those 42, we had 14 days that were plus 100.
Wow. With global warming, I mean, honestly, what can an individual do, or can a city do, or a community do, or is there anything they can do?
It is basically, the scientists were saying several years ago, about 5-6 years ago, that we should be doing something then to reduce emissions, change the way we think about our atmosphere, and then things would not be as extreme. Now we're getting to the point where there's really nothing that we can do. We can, as a collective group, we can reduce emissions and play our part, saving water resources and things like that. But we're going to be seeing these kind of, the scientists and climatologists are saying that this drought situation will be the new norm. So
expect no rain next summer.
Expect, we can't, I like how, individuals will call me on, this goes back to forecasting. These women who are planning their weddings will call me, like today. They will call and say, what's the weather going to be on May 25th? I'm getting married. I said, well, do you have a quarter with you? Flip a coin.
We ask you when you walk up and down the hallways.
That's right.
We used to joke that we wanted no rain, and it's funny that now people do actually want rain. That's been a big switch when you think about it.
That's right. And it's the same kind of thing where they get tired of the heat and they want snow, and then they get tired of the snow and they want the heat. So it's a flip-flop, flip-flop.
Speaking of snow, in a real, I know you don't like to look ahead too fast and too far because you don't want to say what you said last year.
That's right.
But I mean, when you think about this winter, based on the fact that it's been drought now, do you expect that it'll be a snowy, mild, or what are your thoughts?
That is still yet to be determined. So the drought is expected to continue persist in this area through November. So it's going to be dry.
There you go. Now, do you put any jest into the Farmer's Almanac and all their predictions, or is that just...
Actually, I did, for the Four Rivers Ag Report, I did a segment on the Farmer's Almanac, and I was surprised at its accuracy. And I check it once in a while, and it's spot on at times. And so... Yeah.
When you talk about the students of East Illinois University that work at WEIU or the ones that are in some of your documentaries, talk about the kids and what they mean to you.
The kids, let me put it this way. If I don't teach, I'm very depressed. And so that intellectual interaction with the students is fantastic. I have to be in front of a classroom and teaching and looking at their faces, and then you see this, oh yeah, I get this. It's very important to me to have these students. They're fantastic. They show initiative at times. They show a desire to succeed. And the thing is that because I do documentary work, I do additional projects and things like that, they want to. They fill their resume by the time they leave Eastern, and so they look very good. I've got students spanning across the nation, so and it's a wonderful feeling.
Okay, let's talk about other. We go with the world famous 8 questions, maybe some were weather related, but they don't have to be. All right, your favorite type of weather event to follow?
To follow.
I mean, like, are you going to watch the hurricane, or is it tornadoes, or earthquakes, or the global warming?
Oh, I tell you what, the drought is the big thing. The
drought?
Yeah. People ask me, do you storm chase? And I said, no. No, because it's a hitter. You play the lottery instead.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I will watch the hurricane because I'm looking to see how much precipitation we get out of it.
There you go.
But tornadoes are, devastating enough, and, a lot of times it's a lot of hype.
Yep.
So I'm looking to see how we can get out of this drought.
Okay. Your favorite thing about Coles County weather?
Favorite thing about Coles County weather? That's a good question.
Oh, I told you it wasn't going to be easy today.
No, that's right. It's dry. I don't... occasionally, that's a good question. I'll have to come back and tell you.
I finally stumped you. Woo-hoo. All right. Oh, okay. Well, all-time favorite president?
Favorite all-time FDR.
There you go. What would you tell the people today in New Orleans?
Be smart and leave.
And I wrote that question this morning. It was actually going to be directed to the people in Key West, but that shows how much weather can change in a matter of 5 hours.
That's exactly right.
Most famous person you've ever met?
Most famous person I ever met? That would have to be, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
That's 2. I got him twice.
That's 2.
Hot wings. You like your chicken wings hot, mild, or spicy?
A little spicy. I like a little boop.
All right. What makes you pick your documentary topics?
What's happening right now.
Okay.
Or what the students don't understand about something in history.
All right, last question. We're talking to Cameron Craig. EIU football team opens up this Thursday against SIU. Forecast will be, or what can we expect Thursday? Rain Thursday.
Possibly rain Thursday. Mostly sunny skies, and then the rain moves in. So.
All right, that's bad for the weather people at WEIU. The football crew at WEIU.
That's right, but go out and support our team.
And they will win by a score of?
You're asking me?
Of course.
I'll say 14.
All right, there you go. Cameron Craig, appreciate you being here. This is WEIU and Hit Mix.